Okay, so so you find a job position that is advertised somewhere. Okay, it used to be that people read a lot of newspaper. Okay, so and there's like a classified section where you would find job postings, right? So more and more now these days, there are like dedicated companies whose job is basically to post like job positions from different companies. Okay, so actually, different companies actually pay for these companies. For example, in Nepal, popular job site would be mirrorjob.com. I think some of you may have heard about it. So companies would pay to basically, place their job advertisement in these websites. Okay, so you see a job position that is advertised, and if you feel like you qualify for that job position, okay, and you're interested in that job position, then you would basically start applying for that job position or in that company. Okay, all right, so make sure you qualify for that job position and you are interested in that job position. But sometimes if we don't have many options, so people may apply for job position that may not directly relate to, let's say, their major. But again, if there's like options for you guys, then apply for job position which you have interest in. Okay, that would be advice, because you want to work with that company for longer period, not just like few months. Okay, maybe you want to advance in that company. Okay, so you should have some interest in the type of work that you'll be doing. Okay, so let's look at in a job advertisement, you'll find different sections in there, and in different sections there could be it could mention some skills, which may be, let's say, soft skills, hard skills, some may be transferable skills, some may be knowledge-based skills. Okay, so let's look at the definition of these terms here. Okay, so transferable skills are skills that you learn in one faculty or one field, but that could be applied to other like a fields. Okay, for example, so some of you, I mean, a couple of you guys are like a CR, like class representative here. So you may have assumed some leadership responsibilities as working as a CR for your group or for your section, right? So that thing could be highlighted in your resume. So if you're applying, especially for new graduates, or if you want to apply for, let's say, internship position while you are still in college, and in your resume, you could highlight those things. Okay, those things could come as, let's say, leadership skills, interpersonal skills, right? So these are like a transferable skills. You learned those skills in one settings, but you want to apply that thing in another setting. Okay, so these are transferable skills. So another would be knowledge-based skills. So these are like the knowledge that you get from, let's say, enrolling in a college. Okay, so you guys took some, like a Python programming language in your course, maybe like computer architecture. Okay, or let's say you're already working somewhere. Okay, so the skills and the knowledge that you get from like academic institutions or somewhere like working in a job position or through training. So these are knowledge-based skills. Okay, so your financial skills maybe. For you guys, I think programming language skills, maybe that would be applicable. So this will be knowledge-based skills. Okay. So another type of skill would be soft skills. Okay, so this would be more towards your behavior or personality trait. Okay, that would help you basically deal with other people. How good are you in dealing with other people, especially for big companies, or these days I think many companies look for soft skills as much as they look for hard skills. Okay, hard skills means something that you've learned. Again, the hard skill would be comparable to the knowledge-based skills. Okay, something that you learned or developed after going through college, maybe after taking some training, or through working in a job position. So if some of you are working as an intern, right? So you may have been able to get some experience, let's say working in certain sector, like maybe some programming language or maybe some other skills. Okay, these would be hard skills. Okay, so soft skills would be your interpersonal skills. Okay, so your communication skills. Okay, leadership skills. These are soft skills. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's look at skills type. Okay, that are sought by many employers. Okay, so the skills are divided according to its type here. So the first type of soft skill, it's communication skills. Okay, so how good are you in communicating, in expressing your ideas towards others? Okay, how good are you in listening to others? Okay, so oftentimes people who like to talk a lot, they don't listen a lot what others have to say. But communication is two ways, as we already talked about. Okay, so if you're only talking, then not if you're not listening, then there's a problem. Okay, not so good in basically communication skills. Okay, and also while working in a company, you might have to deal with people from different levels of understanding. So you are, let's say, hired as a programmer, and you have to basically sell something to your customer. Okay, so that customer may not have those technical skills. So are you able to make that customer understand the intricate details about your programming language? If you are able to, then you have a good communication skills. Okay, so if you don't get the desired result back, then there's something, something wrong with your communication skills. Okay, so another type of skill would be teamwork. Okay, how good are you in working with other people? Okay, so especially for, let's say you're working as a team manager. Okay, are you able to delegate different tasks to different people without basically inviting any unnecessary conflicts? Okay, so if you're working as, let's say, a team member, okay, can you coexist in a company without unnecessary conflicts? Okay, so I think teamwork or a good team skills is pretty important in working with other people. So if you're hired in a company, you won't be working alone. All right, you'll be working with your own team, different people. So I think team skills would be a very good soft skills. Okay, so normally especially in the US. Okay, so when you apply for a job position, they would have their own, a company would have their own website where they receive the basically applicant information. So you'll be answering certain questions. Okay, so there'll be a bunch of questions that they would have for you for a potential applicant. Okay, and so some of those questions would relate to how good you are with regards to soft skills. Okay, so they will not directly ask like a, you know, let's say if they may not be able to get those things from your resume or CV. Okay, so there will be separate questions for you guys, for applicants to answer, and based on the answers that the applicants would provide for those questions, they would determine. The system would basically determine how good you are or what type of soft skills you are good at or you're not good at. Okay, all right. So the other type of skill would be the organization or time management skills. Okay, so again, for somebody who would be working as in a managerial position, are you able to, like set objectives for your team? Okay, so personally, if you're just working as a team member, then a task would be given to you. Are you able to maybe break down the task to achieve the goal in the time that is given to you? Okay, so these things would be under time management and organizational skills. Okay, so in terms of, let's say your team has a lot of tasks, okay, and there's a deadline for these tasks, but can you prioritize different things? Okay, so the most important task would be done first, and so on. Okay, and also organization has to do with with how good can you manage your life. Okay, so you may have your personal, I mean, you would have your personal life, not may, but you would have your personal life, and also your professional life, your work life. Okay, so are you only dedicated to your work life, and you're neglecting or your personal life? Okay, someday you'll get married, you'll have your kids. Okay, are you able to balance that with your professional life? If you're not, then there could be some issue with your personal life, right? So how good are you with those things? So these are organization and time management skills. Okay, so the next type of skill would be the problem solving skills. Okay, so basically when you encounter a problem, can you basically understand the problem and solve it? Okay, oftentimes when we get a problem, we react to it, may not really go about solving it. Okay, so if you have these problem solving skills, then you would be it would be good in handling these difficult situations in your professional life or in your personal life as well. Okay, so what are different things affecting the situation or the problem itself? Okay, what are different variables affecting it? Okay, so maybe you need to manage different things here. Okay, what the first thing you would deal with? All right, a problem could be a complex problem. Could not be solved, let's say, in a day or in one go. Can you manage it? Okay, all of these would come under your problem-solving skills, right? Okay, the next type of skill would be your motivational skills. Okay, so what it's like, do you exude that energy in your professional life? So this has to do with attitude as well. Okay, so are you motivating to other people? So you may work in a company. Are you taking the energy from other people, or are you basically, exuding outwards? All right, this has to do a lot with your energy. Okay, also kind of like as a consequence, are you able to basically create the working environment around you? Okay, are you able to motivate other people as well? Okay, this is as much important to, let's say, team leader as with your regular team members. All right. Okay. And also, are you continuously motivated in self-development, in your professional development? So oftentimes, if we don't take like trainings or for your self-development, you would kind of stagnate there. Okay, you feel comfortable, but you kind of would be outdated, right? So in order to make yourself relevant, you would need to continuously work on yourself, taking trainings, taking some kind of certifications. All right. So are you motivated to do that, or do you wait for others, maybe your managers, to basically tell you? All right. There's a difference between you taking the initiative and you basically somebody else reminding you. If you are motivated, then these things would come from you. Okay, and also motivational skills would have to do with how good are you in the face of obstacles or even failures. Okay, are you someone who gets depressed? Okay, kind of blame others, blame everyone, or are you someone who just keeps trying until you basically succeed? Okay, this has to do with your motivation. So the next skill type is your leadership skills. Okay, so that means how can you manage other people? Okay, how can you delegate different tasks to different people? All right, this has to also do with like dealing with other people, listening to other people. How are you in communicating with other people? Okay, leadership is a complex skill and it has like a lot of variables involved in it. Okay, so if you assume a leadership position, okay, can you take your organization or your unit, okay, to what is your goal actually? What is your organizational goal or departmental goal? Okay, can you do that? Can you take other people with you? So the goal of the company or your department or organization is met. All right, if that's not being met, then there's something wrong with the question could be raised uh, on your leadership skill. All right, if it is not being done. Okay, so the next type of skill would be has to do with your creativity, flexibility, or openness to change. Okay, so basically when you get a problem or some issue, okay, So how good are you in solving it? Okay, so again, a person who is very creative would come up with different solutions. Okay, try this, try that, and until you find a fix to it. All right. So how good are you in that, or how good are you in willing to basically take other people's ideas? Okay, maybe work with them. Okay, sometimes a leader who is not willing to take inputs from other people may not be a very good leader. Okay, uh, an input may come from anyone. Okay, maybe from, let's say, an intern who's just started working for the company. Okay, so be willing to accept ideas or input from other people. Also, you may have had, you have your own world perception. Okay, and especially this is true for the managers or you know the like CEOs of like a big company who have had like many years of experience being in that big position. Okay, they will have their own views or worldview. Okay, so with the changing world, okay, how good are they in basically evolving with the time? Okay, if people are not willing to basically change with time, then not only they will suffer, but their company, entire company will suffer. Okay, so be willing to basically challenge your position, your status quo, your whatever your opinions, your views, your beliefs you have had. Okay, so oftentimes with changes, it could be challenged. So be willing to accept new things, uh, new knowledge. Okay, which may be different from what you have had before. Okay, change is inevitable, right? The only thing that's changing everything is changing in a sense, right? So be willing to change with time. Okay, so next skill type, soft skill type would be like your confidence or being assertive. Okay, being direct. Okay, so when you're communicating with other people, especially we're talking about business situation here. Okay, you try to be direct, you try to be open, right? You don't want to be incomplete where you talk with your, let's say, your boss, and whatever you intended to express or say, that was not done, so you need a follow-up meeting with that with your boss. That's not very good. Okay, you don't want to waste your others time as much as you don't want to waste your time. Okay, so you don't, and also you want to exude that confidence when speaking. If you have a very important thing to say, and if you're not very confident in saying it, people may not take you seriously. All right, so have confidence, build confidence. All right, and so not only the what part, what you have to say is important, but how you say it is even more important. Okay, all right. So this is also to do with if you make a mistake, be willing to accept it. Okay, don't try to play like a blame game. So you work in a big company. So in terms of you working there, mistakes can happen and will happen. Okay, so if that's the case, then don't run from mistakes. Don't hide from mistakes. Okay, take responsibility. In the end, it would look good on you. You basically standing up for yourself. All right. Okay, so the other types of the skills would be your interpersonal. Okay, how good are you in dealing with other people? All right, intercultural. So in today's situation, you may have to work with people from different backgrounds. All right, not only like let's say people, let's say who may be from different ethnicities here in Kathmandu itself. We have like people from all over Nepal who come to Kathmandu because there's so many employment opportunities here, right? So not only that, these days you may need to compete with people from other countries. Okay, so this is especially true because so many the youth from Nepal, they go overseas, all right, to basically work. All right, so you may have to compete in the global marketplace. All right. So you need to have some intercultural and global awareness as well. Okay. So this has to do with maybe language skills. Okay. So if you want to, let's say, work in Japan, if you don't know Japanese language, that may be kind of like difficult for you, even though you may have other skills, right? So these kind of skills would be key skills depending on certain job positions. Okay. So the next type is numeracy. Numeracy has to do with like a data. Okay. So even if you are just working as, let's say, a like a like a regular office employee, your job may be that you would collect data from other people. Okay, maybe engineers, maybe IT like professionals, and basically uh, represent that data in, let's say, different formats. Let's say in a table format. Put everything in a like nicely in like a table or in like some kind of graphical format, like a pie chart, bar graph, things like that, and report to your senior, maybe the CEO of your company, who just was just interested in looking at the high level view of the data, not really concerned about the small like a variation. The intricate details in data, but from the bird's eye view, from the high level view, uh, how is the company doing? How is certain project going? Okay, so if you're able to basically work with these, work with your numbers, then that's also could be some key skills for a job position. Okay, all right. Also be able to read those data. So let's say you're working and you get the report. You get your report. It may be a weekly report, maybe monthly report. So you have those charts, maybe and tables and all that, but you're not able to understand it. All right, that's not good. So how good you are with the data or numbers would be your numeracy skills. Okay, and these days I think you know it's very like a common these days to look for, or and if you're a company, I think the IT skills is like given, right? They would just assume that the applicants would have it, even if they're just advertising for, let's say, a receptionist position. They assume that you have some like a basic computer skills, like internet skills, right? So for you guys, when you graduate, I think the uh, the IT skills would be crucial for you guys. All right. Okay. And lastly, here, I think this would be the last key skills, type of key skills, the business or commercial awareness and professionalism. Okay, so this has to do with customer focus. Okay, so you have a company. Okay, uh, like how good you are with regards to like providing service to your customer. Okay, if the same thing has been done, okay, maybe you want to change a few things. You may have like innovative approaches. Okay, so at the end of the day, if your job is working with other people, okay, so company would expect you to have some kind of professionalism or providing a high quality customer service. Okay, so oftentimes when you are hired in a company, you may not fully understand your role. It would take maybe some time, maybe like few weeks, few months, to fully understand your role in that company, especially in a big company. Okay, or it could be in a small company as well. You may be doing all sort of things for that company, and this is especially true for small companies. You may be hired as some like title job, but you may be doing something else. Okay, so basically having that awareness about your job positions and your own role in the company, that's also crucial. Okay, and also understanding the let's say economic and political issues affecting the organization and like maybe like government, right? Or maybe other companies or you know. So this is especially true if you are working in high level positions. Okay, you may have your products that your company would produce. Okay, so you may need to know about different rules and regulations in that place, in that country, or in that jurisdiction. All right, so these may be important to a potential employer. Okay, so those are the key skill types. This is I took a screenshot of a job position from mirrorjob.com. Okay, so in that job position, in that job description, there were several like skills like divided into sections. Okay, so you have like a must-have skills. So that's the skills that the company is really looking for. Okay, so if you have like a potential candidate who's missing on those skills, then I would assume the company may not be willing to hire that people. Okay, versus preferable skills. Okay, so these skills the company prefer. Okay, but maybe the company may be willing to train you, or maybe. All right. And there's also soft skills mentioned in this job advertisement. So again, in Nepal, we don't really see much about soft skills here in job advertisement. So I think the job position that I took this screenshot of, I think it was from a multinational company who has a branch here in Kathmandu. Okay, so it's an IT job. So there are actually many companies who are headquartered maybe in the some other big cities around the world, but they have because labor is cheap here. Okay, the same job, if they had to get it done by, let's say, their citizens there in let's say in the U.S., they would have to pay a whole lot than having somebody from Nepal like you know, work the same job. They'll be paying like a fraction of the cost. Okay, so that's why many of these companies they have outsourced their work to destinations like India, in Nepal, and other developing nations. Okay, so let's look at let's take it as steps. Okay, so what would you do if you're looking for a job? Okay, so definitely you would look for vacancies. Okay, either in like a print media or online. Okay, so once you find a job position that you feel you qualify, and that you're interested in that job position and also in that company, then you would begin your application process. Okay, so last time we went through application writing or cover letter writing. Okay, so that would be a formal business letter you're sending to the company that you want to work with. Okay, so when you are doing your research, so even before you write your cover letter, so in one of the sections in the cover letter is you want to express your interest in working in the company or show that you have done some research with regards to that company. Okay, so the first step here would be doing some research about that company. Okay, so these days companies have their websites, and more than websites, actually, they are uh, more active in some social media sites, maybe Twitter, maybe Facebook, or it may be LinkedIn sites. I think LinkedIn is even popular for like professional people or different like companies, organizations. Okay, so if you have not never heard about LinkedIn, do some research about LinkedIn. It's like Facebook for professionals, right? So have a LinkedIn account for you guys, especially we're good if you later on when you graduate you want to apply for foreign companies, let's say. All right, so you may be able to find vacancies these days through LinkedIn itself. You like a company, and you'll be constantly seeing like updates from those companies, or it could be that you're following a job portal company. It's like mirrorjob.com, right? There could be like monster.com, and they would be kind of like a constantly updating. You'll be getting those updates through those sites, or it could be Facebook as well, that you can get a lot of information. All right, so do some research on the company. So I mentioned that if you are interested in a job position, so make sure you qualify for that job position. Sometimes what happens is companies are willing to accept employees who may not exactly fulfill all the requirements. Okay, so in the job description they would specify these things, but you may be able to, like you can actually apply for a job position that you may not fully qualify. per se. So certain qualification may be the must. For example, if they're looking for, let's say, at least like bachelor's degree graduates. So if you're still in your high school, you may not get that job. But certain other aspects, you know, let's say you want to work, the job is, let's say, Java programmer. So the job description is saying 5 years of work experience, but you have just started in the company and work, and you have like around 1 year of experience. So it could be that they may, you know, it depends on the job and also the job position and also the company. So it's not a very hard and rule there. So sometimes you may be able to apply, even if you concretely qualify for those job descriptions, right? So just make your own better judgment in that. Okay, so when you are doing research or in your research phase, okay, before you actually send your application, so if possible, if there's someone working in the company, just talk to that person maybe. This would be very good with regards to what's the working environment there. Okay, how is the general like a work satisfaction among the employees there? Okay. So all of these things could you could get it before you even step your feet uh, in the company premise, right? So also, so be aware of what's the going salary for the job position you're applying for, okay, versus what is the company is willing to pay or it's offering. Sometimes you'll find the salary in the job description itself, okay. Other times they would just say negotiable. So more and more, I think, especially in Nepal, uh, employers, they are not very open about you know, divulging the salary information. Only in very few job positions, job advertisements, they would actually disclose that information. Okay, so it could be your job in finding out what would be the you would have your own expectation, but what's the going salary for that position? Okay, so that would be in the your cover letter and in your resume or CV. You will not disclose it. So this is just to make sure that you would not waste your time. So what if like you apply for a job position, you know, they accept your application, you go for a job interview, you know, in the interview itself they don't disclose it, and only if they hire you they disclose that salary information, but that salary information is not okay for you. So you just wasted all this time. Okay, if possible, it's better to be able to get that information. If not, then I guess you know, it doesn't look for a good in a sense. You asking the company itself what's the salary for this position in a sense. So indirectly, if you can find that information, it's better. Okay, and there are like a there are companies or websites that actually help you with that. So one good example is Glassdoor.com. Okay, it's a job website where different companies would post their jobs there at glassdoor.com. And in glassdoor.com, there's a separate section called salaries. So you'll put your position, the job position you're interested in, and you'd put the city or place you want to apply to. Okay, so with those variables, the Glassdoor will show you what's the average salary for that position. Okay, so you could actually do that as well. So for Nepal, I don't think you'll get detailed, uh, you know, information because again, it depends on the data that is applied or that is you know, given by I guess like different you know, people working in the field. So for example, your Java developer salaries in Kathmandu. Okay, I would assume very few people actually gave their feedback with regards to their salary information. So 60,000 per month, Nepalese rupees, that it seems like an average pay. Okay, so if more people would input, give their feedback, then I would say the number would be different, I guess. Okay, so I'm not. So you can do some research on it, especially for cities like in the like cities in the U.S. or in Europe. I would assume the data would be more comprehensive because they would have like feedback from many sources, right? Versus here, we have a small market here, and consequently, the number that you would get may not be that comprehensive. Okay. Okay, so what would you do? What would you be looking for when you are doing research on a company? Okay, so you see a job advertisement from a company and it feels like, okay, I could work. I'm looking for similar job positions, and this is like an XYZ company. Okay, so again, if you have different options, you would be more inclined to do, working for the best company. But if that's the only company who is offering, then you may not have that much flexibility. So given that you have options, and you would do these things, you would look for different things in the company you want to work for. Okay, so what's the overall values or ethics or culture that the company represents? Okay, is your value, is your ethic, is your culture, your personal culture, does that do they align with the company culture? Okay, if it doesn't, then maybe that company may not be suitable for you in the long run. All right. Okay. And also you'll be looking at core business activities. Okay, so you apply for a job position, but it's kind of unrelated to the company's core business activity. That would be kind of like hindrance to you if you want to progress in your career in that company. At some point, there'll be like a ceiling there where you cannot really move higher because the company is involved in other activities, and that's the highest level that you can work for in that company. So do those things, do these research and finding out about the company, okay, and also about what's the career growth in that company. If the prospect of career growth is not that good, then you may be kind of working in the same position. You may be kind of stagnant in that company, okay? And you may not want to do that, okay? So again, for the recent graduates, your options may be limited, okay? So down the road, let's say after you've worked for 5 years, 10 years, then you'll have more opportunities. Then you will filter out companies. So initially, companies will be filtering out applicants. So if you have enough experience, you'll be looking for the company that you want to work for, okay, that you may have, that then you'll have more flexibility. Also, size of the organization, okay, are you willing do you feel comfortable working in a small company, all right, where you know everyone in the company, all right, or do you want to work in a big company, all right, maybe like a multinational company, all right? So it's all this your personal preference here, and how much the organization or the company spends on its employees with regards to their personal or professional development. Okay, so many companies these days would send their employees to different trainings. All right, it could be for certifications. All right, like Cisco certifications. They may actually pay for not only the getting the training part, but also for getting the actual certification, which for Nepal, I think the cost may be very significant. Okay, so if someone wants to get their CCNA or CCNP or CCIE, let's say, the cost could be in several lakhs, right? Is the company willing to do that, or the company expects you to do that? All right, there could be other training that is applicable to your career path. All right, so look for all these things. You may get this information from, especially from people who actually work in the company. Sometimes you'll be able to find this information in the website itself. All right, because big companies or some companies would want to highlight the achievement in terms of, let's say, certifications or different trainings that they would offer to their employees. Okay, so in terms of forward thinking, flexible hours, so especially these days, okay, many companies you can't really meet physically in this pandemic situation. So many companies are having their employees work from home. All right, is it available, or does the company basically want you in the company premise to do your job? Okay, it depends on you as well as any flexibility offered. Okay, so if you're applying for a part-time job, how flexible are the hours? If it is not flexible, then you may want to move on. All right, all of these things could determine whether you are interested in applying for that job or you're interested in working for that company. Okay, and lastly here, a community engagement. Okay, so you may be interested in working for the company that gives back to the community. Okay, so many companies, even in Nepal, they are engaged in social works. Okay, so basically giving back to the community itself. Okay, maybe doing some repair works or planting trees. or maybe removing trash. All right, if they engage in these activities, it could be that, well, you may want to work with those company, maybe. All right, so you may want to look for these information about the company itself. Okay, so before we go to writing your resume itself, okay, so let's look at some tips for writing CV or resume. Okay, so the first tip here, it says, don't just list your duties responsible, mention your accomplishment. So the same activity that you did could be expressed in basically two ways. Okay, so one, you would be saying, I did this, this, this. Another way would be kind of highlighting or showcasing your accomplishment. So by doing those things, what were you able to accomplish? All right, so you could express in different ways. So one would be kind of like just mentioning it. Another would be taking responsibility. All right, so it makes a huge difference in someone reading your resume or CV. Okay, the second advice here would be use power words. Power words, they're executive words. Okay, so when you read those words, it kind of shows that you have assumed some responsibility. All right, so we'll go in the next slide, you will find some examples of power words. Okay, so power words, they basically put you in charge. Okay, so instead of saying, I am made to, program in Python, okay, there could be other ways to basically highlight your or showcase your accomplishment. So next slide will show you some power words. Okay, so always kind of try to begin your list. So if you're listing your accomplishment or skills, so begin with a verb. So the same power word in your CV or resume. Okay, all right. So it says sentence here, but for a resume or CV, you don't really put sentences there. It's more like phrases. It could be long phrases, it could be short phrases. Okay. So another advice here would be write in active style. So active style actually puts you in charge, okay? Versus like passive style, okay? Which kind of like mentions you doing something because you are required to do, okay? The active style puts you in charge, okay? So again, I'll have more examples for you to make it clear, okay? Basically, passive style doesn't look good in your resume, all right? You may include in your essay writing, but this is totally different. Okay, so don't write long sentences in your resume or CV. Okay, people basically look at your resume for maybe 20 seconds, maybe a minute. All right, so don't include too many long sentences. If possible, just phrases. All right, or in bullet points if you have too many accomplishment or skills. All right, so these things will be applicable when you guys will be learning about CV writing and resume writing, which will be in the, I believe, in next few slides. Okay, so power words. Okay, so these are the words that kind of put you in charge. So accomplished, all right, completed, helped, fulfilled, maintained, researched. All right, so these are called power words. Kind of shows your accomplishment. Okay, so let's look at the passive and active style. Okay, so the first example here, I'll read out the example sentence. The project required me to research information from various sources. So it's kind of saying the project actually required me to do to search for some information, okay? Versus the active style, you actually took the responsibility here, okay? Research information using various sources, including databases and scientific journals. Again, these are the extra information there, but you see the difference between the two writing there. One, you don't, like, if I'm reading that in your resume, it kind of feels not that strong, okay? Versus active style would kind of put you in that executive chair, right? You're doing it, all right? So in your CV and resume, start your basically phrases or sentences with a power word, okay? And you write in active style, okay? So this like a learned, It kind of shows your accomplishment. Okay, a few extra tips for you. Okay, so let's say you have like a gaps in your resume or CV, in your employment, in your education, maybe. Okay, so if you have like a short gaps in between longer periods of employment, okay, so for those a short employment, so you just work for, let's say, 8 months in a company, okay, uh, so basically you can mention your employment dates and year, okay. Hmm. Let's move to another one. I'll come to that point again. Okay. So if the gap is kind of old, so it could be, let's say, 5 years old, 10 years old. Okay. So it could be in your schooling gap. Okay. So you don't need to mention it in your resume or CV now. Okay. It's only if the gap is recent. Okay. Then you may want to. Also, if you are including in your resume or CV, try to see if you can put something in the gap. For example, you could have taken some training or did something. All right. So instead of just putting the gap in there, put some relevant skills, I mean, training or something to fill that gap if possible. Okay. So you took a year off from college, maybe. So what did you do during that year, during that 1 year? Okay, you may have took a training or something. You may have worked somewhere. Okay, so make sure you include those things to fill those gaps. Okay.